Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. We are now currently in the series, a 5-part series about the profitable pricing strategy. And tonight's episode is going to be on the pricing psychology and how to unleash the importance of it and really attract your clientele. I'm your host, Devon Evans, and if you just sit back and relax, we'll go on a journey and explore the pricing psychology, and we're going to unleash it tonight. Strategic pricing is something that's interesting. And if you tuned in last night, you will understand that a lot of people, in my opinion, they don't make pricing decisions based on numbers, based on service. They generally will go and look for their closest competitor or a similar, someone similar in their marketplace, and they will try and price themselves around the same range as said competitor. Now, while that may seem like a great idea sometimes, it really, in my opinion, I believe it cuts yourself short and it causes a lot of frustration for the barber or the service provider because of the fact that they may feel like I price myself with these people, especially when you're in the beginning. Right? When in your beginning service days or providing services behind a chair, when you're starting out, if you don't have any guidance, you generally try to price yourself in the market of where everybody else is. But the problem with that is that you're in a fast race to broke. Because if you build up a clientele base at, let's say, $20, let's say you're charging $20 for a haircut, $30 for a haircut and beard. Say this is what you start out as. And you build your clientele base based on that price. If you build a strong enough clientele base, you're going to typically, service providers, barbers are afraid to move up because they don't want to lose these people, even though they feel like their services, their skills, everything has improved, but their pay hasn't improved. And I'll say this is the lucky thing about being a barber. As a barber, especially if you're independent, you determine your prices. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Do I believe that a barber 1 year out of school should be charging $100 a head? No, I don't. I absolutely do not believe that should be the case. Right? Do I believe that a barber that may be pretty decent, has a pretty decent clientele base, consistent, not a whole lot of downtime, things like that, do I believe that they could charge 40, 50, maybe even $60 a year out of school? It's a possibility. It's a possibility, but it's a mixture of a lot of things. And what you have to understand about pricing is, I'll give you an example. I have a client of mine that came to me, and he drives from about maybe an hour and a half away. And he drives to me for my services. But he wasn't always coming to me. He was going to another shop before he started coming to me. Now, this is the strange thing about the interaction. So we were talking and we were discussing, and I'm businessy, so I like to talk business. I like to talk shop with my clients. I like to talk about business. I like to talk about personal development. And before I finish the story, I'm going to tell you why. There's two reasons that I like to talk about business and personal development. Because I want my clients to grow. I'm trying to grow. I want my clientele to grow. If I grow, my clientele grows, and my price grows, my clientele can move along with me. If you get what I'm saying. Because when we're discussing business, we're discussing all different types of things: stocks, investments, business opportunities, this, that. We're talking about all of this stuff. And it's my thing that I feel like if I have a client who is an employee that works for someone else, I think for a lot of people, even if they don't do it full time, they should have a side business. They should have a business. Some people may not agree with me. It is what it is. Hey, if you don't agree with me, I mean, you can go in the comments or you can start your own podcast and talk about how much you disagree with me. It really doesn't matter. I'm just telling you how I feel. So, anyways, me and my client were talking, and he was telling me about the shop that he was going to before. And the shop that he was going to before had a tiered system for its employees, right? And I don't remember exactly what the tier was, but let's say it was rookie, veteran, all pro, right? And the rookie price was set at a lower price, of course. The mid range or veteran, the veteran price was set at another price. Okay. And then there was the all pro, or the top tier barbers in the shop. They were set at a different price. And my client said something to me about it that it was interesting. He said, if I have a choice and I can afford it, why would I pay the cheapest price? He said, I have to go and be present. Why would I want to get the rookie? He said, I'm going to take the senior guy. I want the senior guy. I don't care what his price is. This is my hair. I'm in front of people. I'm present talking to people. I believe he works in some sort of sales. He said, I can't go in sales with a jacked up haircut. He said, now, if I was a hat guy, if I was something like that, then maybe so. But I can't go in front of people like that. And you don't, when we talk about it, look at the psychology and the emotional connection. Why would I pay the cheapest price when you're telling me that in this shop you have better people than me, but than the cheaper barber? I want the best, right? And you look at you look at it. You look at the industry, you look at what's going on and things like that. There's an emotional connection to price. Price, um, people value things that are higher priced. I don't care what anybody says they do. People value things that are higher priced. You know, I am now, although I may have, my wife will tell you, I have a ton of clothes, I have a ton of shoes. I don't pay a lot for my clothing or my shoes. I have nice shoes, I have very nice clothes. I do not pay tons and tons of money for it. I will say I'm not a Balenciaga guy. I think that those shoes are dumb. I'm not even a Jordan guy. I just can't see paying $200-300 for a pair of shoes. I think I might have one pair of Jordans, two, maybe. But I have a nice shoe collection. Okay. Now, it's not about being price conscious for me. I feel like this is just me, and this is the type of buyer that I am. I am the type of buyer that's going to evaluate the clothing based on, or going to evaluate the product based on its similarities between a cheaper product. For example, okay, everybody seems to love these Nike Tech sweatsuits. If you don't know what they are, look them up, right? They love the Nike Tech sweatsuits. They want to get them. Boom, 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 boom. Listen, a Nike Tech sweatsuit might run you almost $200 for the top and the bottom. Okay? And great, it's Nike, whatever. For me, myself, I'm not paying $200 for one outfit. The only outfit I've ever paid $200 for was a military uniform, and I bought a tuxedo this year. But that was it. That was the only thing I've ever paid $200 plus for. One, I didn't have a choice. The other one, I just wanted to. It didn't make sense for me to rent it when I could just buy it if I'm going to keep doing those type of black tie events. Didn't make sense. Okay, so there's my perceived value. There's my psychology behind why I paid this amount of money for this over here versus why I won't over here. Nike Tech sweatsuit, $200. I can go to Sam's Club. They have a sweatsuit that's comparable, in my opinion, looking at the material in which it's made and everything like that. They have a sweatsuit set that's, like I said, comparable to the Nike Tech, similar in design. May not be exactly the same, but it's very, very similar. I can get that set for under $30, or maybe right at $30. So you mean to tell me I'm paying an extra, what, $170 for a Nike tag? Not gonna do it. Just not gonna do it. And you may deal with those clients. I'm not and by no means, when I want something, I go and buy it. I'm not a haggler when it comes to stuff like that. When I want something, I go and buy it. And you have to create that same scenario. If you're going to be priced higher than everyone else in your area, if that's what you decide to do, what is perfectly fine, you have to understand that with a higher price point, you have to provide higher quality. Because if someone is paying $50, $60 for their haircut, listen, they know that their hair is growing back and going to start to grow back in 2 to 3 weeks. They well, less than that, in a couple of days, right? Literally, as fast as you cut the hair, it's going to start to grow back. They understand that. But if they're going to sit in your chair and pay you 50, 60, 100 plus, you have to be on point, skill wise, right? And even at that price point, this is what I would suggest. If you can't provide a certain service, be honest and say that I'm not the barber for you. A client would rather respect you for that than for you to be like, oh yeah, come on, let's do it. And then you destroy your value because you could not provide the service that they were looking for. And this is why I feel like barbers who jump right out and they're charging 50, 60, $100, typically they don't have enough experience to be able to accept whatever walks through the door. Now, it is your choice and your priority. But we've talked about this before. If you only buttonhole yourself into one category, you're only doing kinky, curly, wavy clients, I'm sorry, you're causing yourself to lose out on a lot of money that may come from the other side. Could possibly come from the other side. Just saying. I don't mean no harm, no foul. I'm just telling you. You closing yourself off, and then you're trying to fight for. Typically you try to fight in a place for these clients that you're comfortable with. When if you were to get uncomfortable for just a period of time and learn and figure it out, you could open up yourself to a whole wide array of people. And instead of having to, and this is how I look at it sometimes, instead of having to price gouge the clients that you do have and get them at this top dollar, you could stay at an affordable rate and have a booked book. You can have a book. You know, but you have to understand what people perceive, right? And everything, I'm going to give you an old folks saying, everything that glitter ain't gold. Right. And with the expansion of the internet and everybody's now seeing, if you do the research, right? If you do the research of what's going on in this world, you realize that everything that glitters ain't gold. And everything that you think is great isn't. I tell you what, guys, when I got a lot of stories tonight. So when I was a kid, and this is I'm not talking bad about anybody. It's just something I realized when I got older. When I was a kid, a lot of my friends, they would go to like Richmond and Charlottesville. They would go, or they may go up to like Northern Virginia, DC or whatever, and they buy their school clothes. Right? So they come back and they got all the freshest clothes. The stuff you seeing on videos and TV, like they got it all on, right? They got Averex, Pelly Pelly. They got all of this stuff on. You're like, man, man, they really got it going on. Whatever, like, that's cool. Now, if people I went to school with listen to this, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you what I realized. What I didn't realize at the time was, one, they was going to places like City Trends, or they was going down to these urban areas, to like Burlington Coat Factory, all of these places that were like discount stores. So I'm looking at it thinking like, I can't afford, my family can't afford this in the store. But they go into a place that has access to it. The other thing was, it was like, oh, well, I'm telling my mom, oh, well, why don't we go down there? No, we can't afford it. And I won't say that I dressed poor or bummy as a kid, because I did not. Right? I had very high fashion sense. May not have been a rapper fashion sense, but I was fresh all the time. But when I got older, I realized that the reason that some of these kids was getting all these clothes and they were so fresh was, one, because of where they were shopping, right? I didn't know anything about City Trends or Burlington Coat Factory back then. I didn't know anything about those stores, right? But I also didn't know how Section 8 worked. So when it dawned on me and I learned how Section 8 worked, I said, of course you had all this money to buy all of this stuff. Y'all was paying $30 a month in rent. And some of your places, all of your utilities was included. So you was paying $30 a month. You was living good. Side note, be angry at me, be mad at me. I really don't care. I'm just telling you what I realized. All right. Now, what does this have to do with price? I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent a little bit. What does that story have to do with price? Okay. This is what I'll say. The money that they were taking and running up and down the road and they were buying all these clothes to impress people, to make it look like they weren't in the situation that they were in. Had they taken that money and done something else with it, but their perceived value was in their appearance. It wasn't in their reality, it was in their appearance. And you're going to have clients like we have a barber in my area charges $100 for a haircut. People pay it. They do. They pay it. They don't see a they don't see a problem with it. They're excited. It's like, I don't know, like the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like they're like, oh my, I'm gonna go get me an appointment with him. Now, am I gonna say that his skills aren't like that? They are. His skills are very nice. Not gonna say that. But I'm still trying to understand what $100 for a haircut proves. And to be honest with you, most of the people that I know that would go to him and pay him between $60 and $100, most of the clients that I know go to him, let me tell you the truth. I know them because typically they sat in my chair. Some of them I just know. They Section 8 people. So they value that type of thing. So, it doesn't necessarily always make sense. And we may touch on this again with maybe this piece right here with maybe a co-host, because there's a lot more conversation that we could have about this. But I'm gonna push on through. The perception of whatever you're providing is super important. You can't have, I'm going to say this. There are very few people that are going to pay you $100 to come to your shop if you're and really feel like they're really getting something if your shop is outdated. Your chairs are torn up. Your chairs don't work properly. You got raggedy capes. You wearing raggedy clothes. I'm not saying that you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're just not dressed or look the part of somebody who's getting $100 of service. If you look like you just came out of a field from working, although farmers work hard, a client wants to feel like they want to feel like they're getting in this environment. They're really doing something right. Right? Ooh, this is exclusive. If your shop falling apart, is dark, is dingy, your chair won't even pump up, all that kind of stuff. You got raggedy tools, your clippers biting. If they're not gonna pay for that, dog. Like, they're just not. because they want to understand. Okay, if I'm paying you $100 for this service, where is my money going? Because if it's not going back into the business, which is important, if your money's not going back into the business, where is it going? I don't want to pay you $100 for a haircut and then I get in the chair and I'm nervous that the chair gonna tip over. Get it together. Like, I think one of the most expensive chairs on the market right now is like $15,000, but you can get an average chair, a nice chair for like $1,300 if that's where you want to be. If you charge $100 a client, it's 13 clients. Now that chair can spin and make you some money for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand having control of your life and things like that, but your area also has to match. Your skill set has to match that price point. Your chair has to match, like your environment has to match that price point. Your customer service has to match that price point. All of these things have to match. We can't just be super whimsical about it. Oh, I'm charging $100 because I'm nice. Okay. See how many of those clients you book because you're nice. You may book some, but you know, it is what it is. But in the end, guys, like when you're looking at your pricing, it needs to align with what you are doing, who you are as a barber. Right? In my opinion, this is just me. If I had a shop and I'm charging $100 a haircut, I can't also have a vending machine. I'm just saying, like, those two things don't match. It's just my opinion. I'm charging $100 for a haircut, right? And this is what we talk about a lot. People in the barber community talk about this: $100 haircuts, $60 haircuts, $80 haircuts. If you really getting that much money providing this service, maybe you should think about providing that stuff to your clients for free. Because there's enough profit in it off of a haircut service that, you know, a 50-cent bag of chips and a bottle of water ain't gonna kill you. But that's just me. I may be wrong. I may come back in a year from now and be like, nah, have that stuff, make your products, you know, all your revenue streams, so on and so forth. There's reason for it, but there's not reason for it, in my opinion, at $100 a haircut. I'm coming, a client, you know what I'm saying? Like, then it feels like you're nickel and diming people. It's just me. Sorry. You know, the two ideals don't align. Just like I feel like the ideals of like an ATM machine in a barbershop doesn't align. I mean, you do realize that most people pay more on a card than they would in cash. So why would you have an ATM machine? Square is like dumb cheap. And if you're that concerned about Square, just add a card fee. If they bring I mean, if you had an ATM, there would be an ATM withdrawal fee. If you're so concerned about it, add it into the card fee. Yes, cash can sometimes be faster. Yeah, that's if they're giving you straight money and not and not asking for change. If you're an independent barber, like it's not like there's a general cash register that everybody uses to make change. You're typically pulling the money out your pocket, giving it. Like, come on, man. Like, your environment really has to be conducive to what you're doing. At lower tiers, I would say, when I say lower tiers, I would say $40 and under for a service. At a lower tier, things like a vending machine, things like uh, an ATM machine. Even though I think I think ATMs in a barbershop are kind of trashy, in my opinion. Right? I heard somebody one time say if they got an ATM in their shop, it screams immediately to them as a barber. And this barber has been in the industry for years. I think he's been in the industry longer than I've been on this earth, and I'm 34. He's still in the industry. He said that if he goes into a barbershop and he sees an ATM machine, he knows that the barber doesn't pay taxes. And I was shocked. He said that if he does pay taxes, he doesn't pay taxes on everything that he makes. And he just said this like a year ago, maybe 2, something like that. But I thought about it. I was like, that makes sense. There's no standard for you to have to do anything. Huh. All right. So guys, this if you're going to work your prices all the way up there, listen, your prices have to match the environment, the skill set, what you have going on. Because while you may say, I'm this good, the client is going to say, why should I pay you this much? If your bathroom is dirty, if you got, if your bathroom is dirty, if you're never on time, why should I pay you this much money for nothing? What? Yeah, man, like that's just it. Like your environment really has to match, and you really need to be aware of your environment. What you got going on. Yeah. So, anyways, guys, I'm not gonna hold you much longer. Didn't actually take tonight's episode where I really wanted it to go, but I think it was where it needed to go. It wasn't as polished as I would like it to be, but I believe that I gave you guys some real stuff. Like, if you're listening to this and you're in school, if you're listening to this and you're a couple years in and you think about changing your prices and all of these sorts of things, like, look at what it is you are doing and decide whether or not does your business model, does your environment, does your skill set demand the price that you're asking for. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, then you need to do some evaluations. But you need to look at, if you're thinking about making a big jump in price, right? 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 100. If you're thinking about making some sort of big jump period in price, right? Even if it's $5, does your environment, does your skill set, does your clientele booking, um, does your customer service, do all of these things mixed together? Do, do you believe that it is valued? What you're trying to go, that they're actually, and I've heard this term, and I'll say this. Actually, if you're gonna charge um $20 for a service, you know, you should make that $20 service, the client should get $60 worth of value out of it. And we may need to sit down and talk to you guys about how are we adding value to these clients based on our services. But that's what they're looking for. They're looking for value, right? Like I said, I think my clients value the type of conversations that I have with them, whether we talk about business or real estate or personal development and growth and, the military. Like, they value that. That's why they come back, right? That's why they come back. They value it. All right. So sit down and make an evaluation of, on your prices. One, stop guessing about your prices and stop trying to compete with everybody else. Stupid. Develop your own lane. Find the areas that people in your area or people even within your shop may be lacking in. Carve your own niche in that area, and I promise you, you will always eat. Always eat. One of the best lessons I ever learned from the military was that I had an instructor tell me that if you want to ensure that you never go hungry while you're out in the field, while you're training or you're deployed, learn to like the meals that most people don't like. If you want to ensure that even if it's just for a time period, you're in a shop, you're there, you're the new guy, boom, 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 boom. All right, you look at what everybody else is doing. What do they lack at? What do they not want to do? Do that. You will always eat. You'll actually carve out your own niche. All right. As always, I'm your host, Devon Evans. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Fill out the Q&A, guys. Let's interact. You guys are listening. You guys are watching from all over the place. I was actually looking at my stats, and we got some people listening from Greece, which I thought was weird, but thank you guys for tuning in. I hope my English is okay for you guys. Either way, thank you guys. Have a good night. Appreciate you. We'll catch you tomorrow.